Hi. When my children were younger, one of my older sisters said to me, if you tell a child it's good, it'll be good. If you tell it it's bad, it'll be bad. That made sense to me. And of course, I would never want to tell my children they're bad anyway. Try to help them see their mistakes and correct their mistakes and do better, sure. But tell them they were bad, I mean, who would want to do that to their children? Well, the God of the Bible, that's who. He claims to be a loving father who truly cares about his children, but he doesn't train his children to know the difference between good and evil. And he constantly reminds them that they are the scum of the earth. Yahweh doesn't want his children knowing good or evil. At least at one time he apparently didn't. He created evil and put it in their way. He planted a tree that would show them both good and evil. That seems a little bizarre to me, but if we wait for Yahweh to behave in a rational manner, we'll be waiting a long time. Not that there's anything wrong with explaining good and bad to our children, but Yahweh put the tree there and then commanded that his children not eat it, not eat from it. He didn't want them knowing either good or evil. His desire was to keep them ignorant. Once Yahweh's children ate from the tree and obtained knowledge of good and evil, supposedly becoming like Yahweh and the other gods, suddenly they became evil, at least in Yahweh's mind. Now that sort of makes sense, because if you indeed become like the gods, as Yahweh said his children had, then you would have to be evil because the gods are evil. At least Yahweh is. But humans know good as well as evil, just as the gods know both and practice both. Now the humans do likewise. Shouldn't being like gods and knowing good and evil like gods be a good thing? One would think, but somehow in Yahweh's mind, being like him and the other gods is horrible. Of course, later he commands people to be like him. Somebody said that the humans already knew good and evil before they ate from the tree. Otherwise, how could they understand that it was wrong to disobey Yahweh's command? And also, how could Yahweh justify punishing them for their willfulness if they didn't understand? But now the person said these people had experiential knowledge of evil. Oh, so that's why they were now like the gods. Now humans like the gods that had actually practiced evil. Okay. Trying to justify Yahweh's anger at Adam and Eve for eating of the tree by saying they knew good and evil already, and then saying they're now like the gods because they've actually practiced both good and evil, doesn't make your God look better. It makes him look worse. Anyway, Yahweh is confused about what is good and what is evil. He thinks slavery is good. He thinks misogyny is good. He thinks murdering babies is good. And he teaches his children to practice these evil behaviors that we, as humans, know are harmful and wicked. What Yahweh really hates is not being worshipped the exact way he wants. His people can murder and steal. He sanctioned both. But he is adamant that they reverence him above all else and in exactly the way he likes. In fact, if on impulse, with pure motives, one of his children reaches out and touches a so-called holy artifact, he'll be struck dead. 2 Samuel 6 through 12 tells such a story. The man's name was Uzzah. He was walking alongside the Ark of the Covenant, bringing it to King David, when the oxen shook the ark. Uzzah did as many would do. He put his hand out to stabilize the ark. And what did Yahweh do? Well, he struck Uzzah dead, of course. Interestingly, this frightened David, and being a man after Yahweh's own heart, he sent the ark to somebody else's house. He didn't want it near him. But then, 3 months later, David heard that this guy, whose name was Obed-Edom, was being blessed. So, again, being a man after Yahweh's own heart and also rich and already blessed, David said, "Oh, then bring it to me. I want to be blessed." And he received the ark with gladness. The horrible treatment of humans has been accepted by Yahweh, but anything that has to do with him must be totally respected. He's just self-centered that way. Still, thinking he's all that, Yahweh judges his children harshly. He has never told his kids they are good. He tells them they are bad, and very bad at that. He calls them altogether filthy, corrupt, and unprofitable. He says not a single one of them is good. And even when they commit good and kind and loving acts, Yahweh says their behavior is still just filthy rags to him. Yahweh was and is a horrible father. And as my sister said, if you tell your children they're bad, they'll be bad. Or, if not bad, then they'll at the very least be confused about what's good and what's bad. If they do good and their good is called filthy, how are they supposed to know what good is? And of course, this has given Yahweh's children inferiority complexes. They think they're unworthy. They sometimes become depressed and maybe even suicidal because they know they can never measure up to Yahweh's crazy standards. For them, anyway. I mean, his standards for himself, they're far lower than anybody could live up to those. And even though Yahweh is filthy rich, he tells his children to be content with only food and clothes. Yet he owns everything and could make all of his children wealthy like he is. As he said in Psalm 50:10, "For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills." Yahweh even wants back a whole bunch of what he has supposedly given his children. They work hard among the thorns and thistles he cursed them with, and he has everything, yet demands part of what they work for. Leviticus 23:37 says, "These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, and a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon his day, beside the Sabbaths of the Lord, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord." And if his children do get more than just food and clothes, he wants them to give it away, either to others or to him. There's a story in the New Testament about a woman who gave everything she had to him. It's in Mark 12:41 through 44. Jesus was watching everybody throwing their money into the collection plate. And this poor widow came in and she put in 2 mites. And so he said to his disciples, everybody else, all these rich people, they were given just a little bit of, because they had so much more. But this woman, she gave of her want. You know, the others gave of their abundance, but she gave of her want. And she cast in everything she had, even all her living. Now, Jesus praised this woman for giving everything she had to a God who has everything. But that's what pleases the gods. Make yourself poor to enrich them further. And of course, Jesus told a rich young ruler that in order to have treasure in heaven, he should sell everything he had and give the money to the poor and come and follow Jesus. Yahweh wants to strip us of everything and then expects us to praise him for it. So, feeling inferior and worthless, his children have learned to justify every good thing they do for themselves. They have worked hard, or they are stressed, they tell themselves. So they deserve to go out to eat. If they buy something expensive, they feel guilty. And sometimes give the thing away because every time they look at it, it makes them ashamed for spending so much on themselves. Oh, they can give it to somebody else because that's being good. That's giving expensive stuff to others. But they're not worthy of it. Now, not all Christians are like this, of course. Some even use Christianity itself to become wealthy. But those who take the Bible seriously, the ones who really have good hearts and want to serve Jesus, feel like crap about themselves. If they have an extra car or an extra bedroom or hey, even 2 coats because they're told that if they have 2 coats, they have to give one of them away. That's in Luke 3:11. And on top of everything else, they have learned to accept crazy love, or so-called love. If someone gives them a kind word but then mistreats them, they don't know that they should run from that person. They view that as normal behavior. It's their God's behavior toward them. And He loves them, right? That's how love behaves. At least that's the only way a Christian can see love. And they don't know how to love their own children either. In fact, Yahweh insists that they beat their children. He also tells them to do as He does, and He has threatened to kill His children. Many Christians abandon their children and shun them when the children don't live up to the standards Yahweh places on them. And that's even though the parents themselves know they aren't living up to those standards either. But neither does Yahweh, so I guess it's okay for parents to be hypocrites like Yahweh. Yahweh tells His children they must love Him more than they love their own children or anyone else. If not, they are definitely not worth having Him as their Father. So even if Yahweh's children are very sick and very poor and very sad, if one good little thing happens, they get excited and start praising Yahweh and talking about how blessed they are. Their mother might be dying of cancer. Their father might be beating them. Their uncle might be raping them. But they got an A on their biology test. Praise Yahweh. The other day, I saw somebody praising Yahweh for the warm weather we've had so far this winter. Now, since that, it's turned cold. But the lady said, I honestly believe this is just a little gift from God to make us smile. Yes, 5.5 billion of us have died from a virus that this God supposedly allowed to infect us. But then He throws us a bone and some breadcrumbs by giving us a few warm days. And we get all excited thinking He cares about our weather. But it's completely childish to think that way. But hey, we don't deserve anything, right? I mean, we're scum of the earth. Yahweh's children think they are so bad that even their own death is not enough to make up for the fact that they're alive and human. Yes, the wages of sin is death, but not their death. They're worthless, so their death can't pay for anything. Many of Yahweh's followers think that if they're not perfect as Yahweh is supposedly perfect, then they deserve not just to die, but to be tortured forever after they die. And only the blood of a God can make them not worthy. No, they'd never say it makes them worthy. They're still unprofitable. But if they'll accept that God paid for their sins with His death, and then do every little thing He tells them to, their whole lives, by basically giving up their own free will, which they think is extremely important to have, then they get the free gift of eternal life. And what is particularly sad about all this is that Yahweh's children are far better and more moral than He has ever been. Yet because of the lies they believe, they think they are unworthy of being in the presence of Yahweh on their own merits. Yahweh's relationship with His children is sick and insane. And He doesn't know it, and sadly and consequently, neither do His children. That's why they even want to spend an eternity with this creep. If they could come out from under his abusive control and recognize him for the evil monster he is, they'd run from him. Of course, Yahweh isn't real, but it doesn't matter to people who believe He is. Their lives are forever ruined by a lie. I mean, it's heartbreaking to think about. Thanks for watching. Bye.